Welcome to another Sunday WOAY ABC4 Community Forum, where we talk to local leaders and community success stories to discuss important information that affects all of us here in Southern West Virginia. I'm your host, Brandy Lawrence, and today we're joined by yet another distinguished guest, the first ever Executive Director of the Friends of New River Gorge Park and Preserve, Roy Mark Farrell, also known as Boog, joins us today. Thanks so much for coming to the forum, and welcome to the Mountain State.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, can you tell us who you are and what brings you to the Mountain State to be the Executive Director of our Friends of New River Gorge?
Yeah, so I've been visiting, my family and I have been visiting West Virginia for the last 5 years, and we're looking for a way to move here. And we saw the job position posted by Friends of New River Gorge in February and made some inquiries and thought, man, they're never going to let us move to West Virginia being from Texas, but went through the process, loved the organization, and here we are.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you here, and as a lifelong West Virginian, there's always room for everybody, especially people who love it here. So,
Thanks.
Can you tell us about the Friends of New River Gorge Park and Preserve and what you all do?
Yeah, so Friends of New River Gorge National Park and Preserve, we partner with the National Park Service in maintaining and supporting and protecting New River Gorge National Park and Preserve, Gauley River National Recreation Area, and the Bluestone River National Scenic River. So our National Park Service here in the area takes care of all of those, and we support them through projects, programs, recruiting volunteers, fundraising.
It's a big feat and very important.
Yes.
Ever since the national park designation, it's really blown up even more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's awesome to see an organization that is dedicated to making it even better. So thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And how are you adjusting to the new position?
Well, it's one day at a time. I've heard the phrase several times, drinking from a fire hydrant, and that's definitely the way it feels, being an outsider, this being a new place, a new position, and I'm new to the park space. So I've worked in nonprofit work through both economic development at my hometown in Athens, Texas, but also with an international NGO working in restorative justice in Uganda. And so I have a lot of nonprofit experience, both as a volunteer, board member, and executive, but this is my first foray into park partnership or that park space. So like most people, I've enjoyed national parks. I've used them. I came here the first time to come to the national park, but I'd never worked in support of them. So trying to learn the area so I don't have to use the maps to get everywhere, and get my family settled in. It's been a lot, but this place has been really welcoming. The people have been the biggest surprise so far.
That's awesome. I'm glad everybody is giving you a warm welcome, and it's been nice. So you guys be nice to all our new people here. We want people to keep coming. So what's going on in the park right now?
Yeah, so in the park right now, there's a lot. Like you said, you've been here forever, so this is a busy season, and we're already seeing. You have that bump coming into Memorial Day, and then there's a little valley, and now it's full tilt, it feels like, and there's a lot. So in the park itself, there's some projects going on that are going to affect visitor usership. For instance, Kmore Trail, or the Upper Kmore Miners Trail, is going to be closed Monday through Friday for a while because they're going to be working on repairing some of that trail because it's a high-use trail. You can still get to the steps and get down to the mining area, and you can still use all the trail on the weekends, but we have small projects like that going on. But mainly right now, it's just trying to do a good job of welcoming everybody. About 70% of the people that visit this park, and there's almost 2 million people a year visit New River Gorge National Park and Preserve. Of those 2 million, 70% are West Virginians. And so there's a lot of work always going on in the park to try to make that experience good for West Virginians, but also for the rest of the folks that are coming from all over the world, especially, like you said, since it's become a national park. And so that's always tough to deal with. 2 million people come over to your house, that's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of infrastructure and a lot of things to take care of, a lot of cleanup after that. But also right now, there's a hiring freeze going on with the National Park Service and Department of Interior, and so they're not able to bring on new people. So there's some unfilled positions, which that can be cyclical, where they have people rolling out of the Park Service. And so there's always some positions unfilled in the National Park Service in any given area. But right now there's several parks. Last night I was at a retirement function for some national park employees that are from here and have been here for, working for the national park for over 30 years. And when those people leave, it leaves a pretty big hole, especially when you have this time of the year with a lot of visitation and more people, more problems sometimes. So you have more people, you have more things going wrong, you have a few less people to call on to help and to call on with that wisdom, that have been here for over the years. So there's this dynamic generally of the park seeing more visitorship because of the designation and because post-COVID everybody wants to be outside more, which is great. But you also have just the general kind of a static level of resources available in this park, even though the visitorship's up 40%. And so there's some tension there, just trying to deal with it. But one of the most encouraging things to me, I said earlier that, people have been the biggest surprise. I've not spent a lot of time around Park Service personnel until taking this position, and I'm just blown away by, so many of them are local. This is their park, just like it's a local park, and also they're just dedicated to serving. It's all about the people that are visiting the park. So there's a lot of work going on. There's a little bit of pressure to keep up with the demand, but it's really good people doing the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it'll be a little challenging this year, but I think it'll still be a great year. And is there any way that, since this community forum, I always love to see how the community can get involved. So is there any way that anybody that will be out there watching could volunteer or donate with you all to help support the parks?
Oh, for sure. So one good way right now, our website's pretty basic, but we do have a website, friendsofnewrivergorge.org. We do have some information on there on how you can donate. Also, we are setting up a newsletter, so if you go on that page, you can join as a friend. It's a $25 once a year membership. All that goes to programs in the park. But also, once you join, we got you. And so we will be letting people know about volunteer opportunities. We have some graffiti that needs to be cleaned up in the park right now, and that's a really easy way to get volunteers involved, to be a part of taking care of the park, not just donating to it, though we need the donations. But there's also the projects like the Kmore Trail and some other high-use trails that we want to repair and improve for visitors. So there's some opportunities to donate towards those. But also, just this last weekend, there's a great group out of WVU that's doing trail building workshops. So we will be offering opportunities for people to take part in those free workshops to get trained in trail building, so we can really take good care of these trails that give us access to a place that's like no other. So that's some ways they can get involved.
Well, absolutely. And I think we have a lower third with that website, but you all also have a pretty active Facebook page too, so I made sure to plug that too.
Yes, please.
Awesome. And are there many members of Friends of New River Gorge?
Yeah. So most of our members are local, not all of them, but most of them are. And usually it's people that have benefited from the park. So we have around 220 members right now that are active. Our goal, I want to double that at least. I think if you have 2 million people coming through the park, there's a lot of people that are benefiting from the park. And one of the things that I noticed early on is our mission. I'm big on going back to what is the foundational document. When these people in 2017 decided it would be a really good thing to partner with the park, what did they write down as their stated mission? And so part of that is to support the park in protecting, natural resources, cultural resources, enhancing educational outreach and interpretation, and getting more kids in the park. So, so protecting, enhancing, but also increasing enjoyment. Well, I started thinking, we're friends in New River Gorge. Well, friends are a two-way relationship. So I was like, the park has protected things that are important to me. The park has enhanced the things I've learned about the coal community and that history. I didn't know anything about that before coming to West Virginia. And it's definitely increased my enjoyment of the area. So if the park is doing that for me, I need to do that for the park. So we just invite everybody that's enjoying the park in any of those ways to take, kind of take stock and think of how you could do your part, just like you would in any other friendship.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you don't become a friend of the New River Park, well, the New River Gorge, or donate, you could also give back by, I think it's like the Boy Scout thing, like leaving things the way you found them. So like when you are in the parks, just enjoy the nature.
Yeah, just do no harm at the very least. And there, once again, like there's so many metaphors that are helpful when you think of it. Okay, I'm a friend of the park. Well, the best at the baseline for my friend, just do no harm. Don't leave litter, pack out. You'll see people, if there's not a trash can really often, then people will just drop trash. And I'm a runner, so I run on the trails, and people inadvertently, we're doing our best, but maybe I have something in my pocket and it drops out. If you see that and it's not yours, fine, it's in your park, so pick it up and just do those little things. Make a huge difference. Absolutely,
absolutely. And we were that ended up being a really big story. The graffiti in Long Point. It blew up a lot. I know a lot of our other sister stations and some of the other stations in the area reported it as well, and it got a lot of community feedback. So, things such as that, like just keep an eye out for things like that. And if you see something, say something. I know that some people get a little, they don't want to be a tattletale, but things like that is important, and it's important to keep our parks clean. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I've spending time with park staff when I first got here to get oriented. I know they notice those things. Like they want to know. They want to know what are the problems, what can we help with. Little things. The first time we went down to Sandstone, because I've spent most of my time up in the north end of the park. And so they took me down to Sandstone, and the interpretive displays that tell the history and the science of that area were grungy. And I could tell that really bothered Eve West, our chief of interpretation. And so the next time I went there, they were spotless and those colors popped, and I love the attention to detail, and so they want to know. And I would also encourage, we're big when there's tension, we're big on, write your congressman, right? And one thing I've been encouraging people to do is just write your ranger too. If you see a National Park Service employee, or you see a ranger, or you know them, or go to their webpage and you can do a contact, like let them know that you appreciate the work they're doing, because usually, the complaints are the only things we usually hear about. And so just smiling and waving at them and telling them thank you is a big deal. They need to know that their work is appreciated. Just like we all do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank a ranger next time you see them, or one of our friends at the New River Gorge Park and Preserve when you see them out. So we're about to go out to our first break, but do you mind plugging that the website so people know where to find you all and we can get some more members for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. friendsofnewriver.org. Awesome. friendsofnewriver.org.
All right, awesome. Thank you. And thank you guys for joining us for the first half of Community Forum. We'll be right back after the break to talk more about Friends of New River Gorge Park and Preserve. Welcome back to Sunday Community Forum. I'm here with Executive Director of Friends of New River Gorge Park and Preserve, Roy Mark Farrell, also known as Boog. Can people call you that out in the streets?
All my friends call me Boog. All my friends call me Boog.
Well, you heard it here first. You can call him Boog. So we're talking about everything that the Friends of New River Gorge Park and Preserve has planned, especially under your leadership. So when we were getting this interview together, I learned that you are an ultra runner. So I had to look that up. So for the other people out there that may not know what an ultra runner is, can you tell them what that entails?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we get it a lot. There's several definitions. My definition is a marathon's 26.2 miles. So if you're dumb enough to run 26.3, you're an ultra runner at that point. But yeah, generally it's races that are ultra endurance, so longer than a marathon. Most of my races have been 50 mile, 100K, which is 62 miles. And then I came to West Virginia for the first time to run a 100 mile. And even though I've been doing this about 20 years, that was my first 100 mile. And it was the first 100-mile trail race in West Virginia. And that's the Rim to River Endurance 100 that starts at Ace, and you run down to Thurman, then go up to Anstead, and kind of back through the park, back to Ace Adventure and Resort. And so a friend of mine that's from Texas as well, Bryant Baker, he put that on, and I had talked him into doing his first ultra. And I said, if you can run a marathon, you can run 100K. So when he was promoting Rim to River, he said in an interview, he said, my friend said that, so if you can run a marathon, you can run a 100 mile. I thought, okay, now I've got to run a 100 mile, but it's a different breed. It's a really nice, tight community that are out there suffering, loves company. But it's, for me and for a lot of people, it's not racing like you would think. It's more about seeing country and seeing your surroundings and moving efficiently across ground. And the first time, it was my first time in West Virginia and my first time in the Gorge, and getting to see, basically 50 miles of the park in one day was really special. Just the variety that's here, and getting to be near the river, and then you see the old coal mines, and there's so much. This is really a place like no other. I've had several conversations with climbers and boaters and runners, and the New River Gorge is world class. And it looks different than maybe the Alps or the Tetons or whatever, but it's not less. Like, it is world class recreation here.
Absolutely. And it's awesome that you got to run through the majority of the park.
Yeah. I don't recommend seeing the park that way, because a lot of that didn't stick. But yeah, you get to see in that race, and there's a lot of great events in the area like that. So
absolutely. And we were talking a bit during the break, and you all are in the same office as Active Southern West Virginia, so you already have firsthand knowledge of all the races and stuff they have going on, because they're very great about planning different races out there. So as an ultra runner and a lover of the outdoors, how does that experience and that hobby, how does that going to translate to your role as executive director?
Yeah, well, being a runner, I can make several metaphors from running to everything, but really I think for me, doing this so long and coming from where I come from, so I drive back home, I had to drive an hour to get to a trail. And the first time I came here, just how accessible this park is, and how from all these different gateway towns in these counties, you can be in the park. And so that's so special to me. Spending time on trail in several different locations, I've seen how fragile that situation is if we don't maintain it, and we don't take care of it, and we don't protect it, and we don't support the people that protect it. It can be gone, and it can be ruined. And it can be ruined with good intentions. One of the phrases I've heard at the park is, we can love our park to death. And it's not negative. We want people in the park. The park needs people to visit. And so they're loving the park, but there has to be maintenance that goes along with that. So I think my experience in trail running, and also seeing the growth of trail running, which is, it's not like pickleball, but it has grown a lot. You see the impact on the trail and the impact on the environment. And so I've seen that firsthand and felt the effects of it. And so that part overflows into the job. But also, one of the things with trail running is thankfully you have aid stations. So about every 5 to 10 miles you come to a spot, and there's people there that are helping you with food, first aid supplies if you need them, and just help keep you moving, to finish the race. And in fact, Friends of New River Gorge, I met them the first time I ever came to West Virginia. I just didn't know it. Friends of New River Gorge mans an aid station at Thurman during the Rim to River 100. And so these aid stations are, you don't stay there. They help you keep moving. And that's one of the things that I've taken away from ultra running, is a lot of the support we get in life is people that are helping us finish the race. They're not going to run the race for us, and we're not the Park Service, and we don't represent everything with a park, but we are like an aid station. We want to help visitors do what they're trying to do. We want to help the communities benefit from the park. We want to help the park benefit from the community. So I see Friends of New River Gorge in the running metaphor is really the aid station. We're just here to help all these people that are doing, their thing.
Definitely. That's awesome. And it's actually a perfect segue into my next question of what type of projects and things that you all have going on to preserve and protect the park. Because I know we were talking a little bit about trail restoration, and you all needed some volunteers for that as well.
Yeah. So 3 big things right now that we can help with immediately. They're not big long-term projects. Is the graffiti removal. We're going to get together the supply list for that and recruit volunteers. So if you're on our friends newsletter, you will be getting an invitation to help with that. And that will probably be, unfortunately, that's an ongoing problem. So that will probably be an ongoing project. We'll develop just a way of keeping everybody in the loop. Secondly is we have some visitor-facing projects. One of them, I didn't know that people do this, but they do outdoor stamps. They're park passport. But if you've been to Canyon Rim Visitor Center during peak season and peak hours, you're not getting that stamp, unless you're ready to wait for a long time. So we're trying to open up opportunities for that to happen out. We have a holiday tomorrow for Juneteenth, and we have West Virginia Day on Friday. So on Juneteenth, the park visitor center will be closed, or there won't be very many people there. And so making things available outside of hours. The visitor center will be open on Juneteenth, but it'll be short-staffed. And so making things available when we have less staff or we have after hours so people can still get that passport. And, it's a long ways if you're staying down around Sandstone and you've got to come all the way to Canyon Rim or even just go to one of the visitor centers. We're right here close to Glen Jean, but it can take 30 minutes or so to get down to Thurman. So if we can make things like that seem like small innocuous things easier for visitors, it enhances their visitor experience. So that's a really small visitor-facing program. But then also we're fundraising for several educational programs right now. So we have opportunities to get kids in the park doing science research, STEM days in the park. We have the wildflower tours that will be going on later. We have there's another educational fundraiser going on right now. So little ways to get kids in the park, learning in the park. We can accept donations for those right now. So
okay, awesome. And they can do that on the website, correct?
You can do that on the website. We are rebuilding our website right now, so pardon the mess. So there's not a button specifically for those, but if you click on any of the donate buttons and just put in your note, this is for education or this is for trails, we'll make sure that's designated for that and will be used for that. And we'll try to let our friends know, hey, you donated to this, here's the outcome, here's pictures of the trail work, and if there's opportunities for volunteer work, invite people to volunteer.
Awesome, good stuff, good stuff. So, guys, if you are really out here enjoying the parks, do not love your park to death, to make sure that you give back and help out the Friends of New River Gorge. Be a friend to the park. Yeah. So one question that I love to ask for Community Forum, it's kind of a manifestation question. And you all are a nonprofit organization, so if money was no object, maybe a wealthy benefactor is watching right now and is like, hey, I want to give a lump sum of money to a worthy cause, and they chose you guys, what would you like to do with Friends of New River Gorge?
So beyond those smaller projects, which are this year only projects, and honestly, most of our smaller projects right now, if you added them all up, it's under $50,000 for those smaller projects. But if we had a Dream Big initiative, one thing we really need to set up are endowments. So a lot of park partner organizations set up endowments. They do a capital campaign, and then let's say a trails endowment or an education endowment. What that creates for each year in interest, they can use that money to fund park positions, to buy materials, and especially for things that are always going to be a need, like trail maintenance and like getting children in the park, feeding them, transporting them in and out of the park, making sure there's oversight and people to teach. Those type of projects will always be a need, so it's not a one-off emergency. What we would love to see are those ongoing endowments. And especially for me, I've noticed as I'm learning about West Virginia and learning about the park, the history and the culture in the park. There's so much rich, really interesting, complex history and cultural resources in the park. So if we could highlight that through education and outreach in our community, I feel like we would have more people in this community enjoy the park more. And you protect what you love. So there's a lot of tourism around the park, and that's great. I came here as a tourist, but our main objective is to have more people that live here, love here, this park, you know, and so those endowments create ongoing support for ongoing engagement with the park, and especially if we can highlight those interpretive and educational elements that show what's significant, why this trail in New River Gorge, West Virginia is different than any other trail in the world, is because of the cultural piece. And so I feel like if we had all the resources in the world, we would be able to support the materials and the staff needed to continually tell this really unique story of New River Gorge, both to the people here to raise the profile of its accessibility to our local folks, but also to raise the profile of the park so that people all over the world know how special it is. It is really unique, and we have as much visitors in our park as Arches and like Sequoia and Kings Canyon, which we think of Sequoias and we think this iconic park, but there's more visitors that come through New River Gorge than over there. And so I think big long-term projects over the long term will increase local engagement and increase our profile, not just New River Gorge, but West Virginia, I'm sorry, I was 40 something whenever I learned it, but this is a really special place. Absolutely. And we want you to live here and enjoy it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So make sure that you all get in touch with Friends of New River Gorge Park and Preserve about how you can partner up with them and make sure that these things come to fruition. Thanks so much for joining us for Community Forum. It was an awesome meeting you, and welcome to the Mountain State once again.
Thank you, Brandy. I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for joining us for Sunday Community Forum. Make sure to tune in next Sunday where we speak to more local leaders and community success stories about important things happening here in Southern West Virginia. Have a happy Sunday.